So yeah, this originally was called, I say this to everyone because I think it's like important to be transparent about the whole journey.
Yeah.
So when I first started out 4 or 5 years ago, it's actually in May, it'll be the 5th anniversary of when I became a limited company.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have done that at the start, but like it's been good, to be fair. But originally we were just going to be a video editing service. So we were just going to edit videos essentially. And then what happened was, over time, I realised that as I was like creating content for businesses and people, at the time it was more like gym owners and things like that. And what happened was, I realised that people just quite like making the content because they can get easy access to the iPhone. They can just get a phone out and do it. There's editing apps now, which were cool. And it was just like a generally like cool thing that people like doing. So my first thought was like, I can't scale video editing because there's only so many videos I can edit in a day. I can't get the business where I want it to be for that reason. Yeah, and then I was getting to the point where I was doing like, say, 4 to 5 videos a day. And I was like, I can't, unless I take on a massive team, it's going to be a really hard business model to scale. And all the while, people were saying to me, like, do you want to manage my social media account? And I was like, oh, go on then. Like, I was charging like 200 quid a month, nothing I could make a living off.
Yeah.
But I was actually quite enjoying it. So in the process, I was like learning like Instagram, like YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it. And then I realised this is a lot more beneficial and I actually enjoy it more than doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So originally it was called the Made for Video podcast because I thought it was a cool name. And then it went to the Made to Be Social podcast, which it is now.
Yeah.
But now I've actually got this, I'm obsessed with this idea of ideas. So ideas, to me, everything starts with an idea.
Yeah.
Everything. So you've probably, with Smooth HR, you've probably had this thing where you've gone, do you know what, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I'm going to do that. So you see this problem that needs solving, you're going to do it. So I asked business owners, I'm probably getting into this today, like, what's your big idea? And I've had this for the last few weeks to rename it again.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a wise thing to do, to the Big Ideas podcast, because I think anyone who sits in this seat, in your seat now, always have started with a big idea.
And people are interested in ideas, aren't they?
100%.
Like if you see like a big idea, like we always talk about that, like me and my husband about entrepreneurs, and we're like, oh, where did they get that idea? You know, like they've just started something and it's just taken off, and like
and then like even like the Dragon's Den, when people go on and pitch their idea, it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that?
That's all you ever think, don't you?
Do you know what? That's been me a million times. Why didn't I just think of that? So, and how many times have you like been in bed and woke up in the middle of the night going, oh, that's a great idea, I'm going to do that in the morning? Or you've been on you've put in the notes app on your phone, oh, that's what I'll just write that down.
Yeah.
Never really happens.
Funny, isn't it?
So a lot of ideas get just disposed of. Don't take off. So I'm always fascinated with people like me and you who do get ideas off the ground and get to a certain level and want to get to the next level. It's like, what's the spark in that idea? I love that. I love that excuse the pun, but I love that idea of like how we get these ideas off the floor. So yeah, anyway, that's just a little side note of like my branding and how I'm a bit indecisive on it at the moment. Yeah.
It's hard, John, though, isn't it?
But as it stands, we're on the Made to Be Social podcast. On YouTube, it is the Made to Be Social podcast. I've been excited for this. This was meant to happen last week. But we are live now.
Oh, fab.
I am fascinated with what you do. But for anyone in my audience who might not be aware of who you are, what's your name and what do you do?
My name is Lauren Randall, formerly Lauren Long. I just got married last year, 2 years ago now. I can't even remember. And I'm a HR consultant, so I support SMEs with all their HR and people needs. So that's everything from employment law and advice and HR support to, you know, employers of 1 to 5 employees, right up to bigger businesses of 40 to 60. And we work with them to tailor their HR strategies and support them, in a more strategic way. So future planning and the sort of, I'd say, more transformational HR projects that they need to support the business goals, really.
I love it. What made you get into that?
Into HR or consultancy?
Both.
Do you know what? It's so strange, the story of why I got into HR. So I was actually going to study history in university, and my older brother at the time, he was like, is 5 years older than me, and he was always like, he was the cool kid and I wasn't. I was the geeky kid, he was the cool one. So he was always like pushing me into things. So when I said I was going to do a history degree, he was like, and what are you going to get out of that? And I was like, well, I haven't thought that far ahead. I just like the subject, so I want to do it. And he was like, well, that's not really how life works. You don't just do something you like. You need to know where you're going with it. So he was like, I think you should reconsider if you don't know where that's going to take you. So I literally flicked the page over in the university prospectus, and human resource management was on the next page. I read it and I was like, oh my God, that is me. Like that, I absolutely love the psychology of people, but in business. Like I love business and I love psychology and like workplace. And that was literally it. I was like, that's me. I can't believe.
What made your brain gravitate towards that then? Just like initially, like psychology and stuff?
I don't know. I think I've always been quite, I would describe myself as fairly emotionally intelligent, and I've always felt like from a very young age I've had empathy. You know, like I've always been that like kid in school. I never like taking like skitting people and stuff, and the way some kids got into that, I just never thought that was okay. Do you know what I mean? And I've never found the funny sides to those type of things, and I've always just had, I think, just a lot of empathy. And then that combined with my dad has got a really strong work ethic, and he was always like, you've got to work hard, like work is the priority and stuff. So I've always just been interested in, I've always had that work ethic from my dad from a young age. And then when I got my first job, I always found it dead interesting seeing how people, and me included, responded differently to different management styles. So if we had a manager who was really kind to us and sort of on our level, we'd do everything for her. And then there'd be like the more stricter managers who you resented doing things for, really. But then equally, some girls on the team, they were a lot more laid back. So they actually responded better to the stricter managers. And I just always found that really, that dynamic really interesting, and like the discretionary behaviour that we apply to different people. Do you know what I mean? So you're getting paid, I don't know, whatever it was at the time, probably £5 an hour. What makes you go above and beyond?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Like, I always tell a story. You won't know this. So when I came out of school at 16 in 2003, so long time ago, and then for the next 6 years, 5 years, 5.5 years, something like that, I was doing architecture. So we joined a housing company, trainee architect, like happy days. And you're told at that point in your life, like get a safe job, get a 9 to 5, like this, that, that. And then did that. And it was a lot of, I was always like physical, like I was always like playing football or doing sports or something. And it was like becoming an office worm. So by the time I got to 21, I was like a few years in, and then the recession hits, 2008, and then mass redundancies happened in the construction industry. Yeah. So at that point, and I talk about this all the time, probably bore people, at that point I was there for just over 5 years, so I was entitled to a little bit of a payout. Now at the time when you're 21, and you're like your mum and dad's, you haven't got any kids or any bills, like $3.5 grand payouts is like fucking balling out of control. Like I was every weekend, you know what I mean? And I'd basically split up with my first girlfriend that I had like since probably 17, and then made redundant, and I had all this money. So I was like, right, okay. So I realised at that point that all my mates had jobs. So I just started going to gym. But what it made me realise was that I realised at quite a young age that job security wasn't that secure. Yeah. So the whole 9 to 5 thing that we got sold of like, get a secure job, do well. Architect's a great job, which it is. Make good money, It's like, it wasn't that safe. So straight away in my brain, I was like, I got to do this for myself. It was like become this like, and all of a sudden what I realised was what I was making in a month, I could make in a week.
Yeah.
And it was just like this whole like myth was like busted straight away in my head. So anyway, for the next sort of 10 years, became a PT, built a few businesses, but now, like, when I think back to, like, going back to, say I went back, I think we spoke about this on the phone, if I went back to, like, doing, like, a 9-to-5 role, I think I'd be completely unemployable. I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, I wouldn't even know, like, how to handle someone who was telling me what to do. I just don't think my brain could process it. But do you find a lot of that in, like, with businesses or business owners that you work with? It's like, kind of like people, like disgruntled, like ex-redundant people.
Yeah, do you know what? It's probably a combination of both. I think a lot of them have been in that circumstance where something hasn't worked out and then they've gone, you know what, I'm just going to take a shot at something else. And other people, I think, are just born with that entrepreneurial spirit, aren't they? Where they just see something and think, you know what, I can do that and I can do it better. And I feel like, for me, I was quite happy in jobs. Like, that was sort of who I was. Like, I am a rule follower, and I just keep in line, and that was just always me, really. And I was quite happy to have direction, whereas my husband is the total opposite, so he will not be told what to do. If there's a sign that says don't go on the grass, he's going on the grass, whereas I would, you could bet my life on it, I wouldn't go on the grass. So I was always like, I don't know why you'd want to own your own business, even though my dad does. I was like, don't know why you'd want to do that. I'd rather just be told what to do and turn up and do it well and go home, really. And then circumstances changed. I was embarking on an IVF journey, and it just wasn't possible to hold a job down, really, that was going to demand all that time. You know, HR can be quite stressful. So I left the job that I was in, and then I thought, well, what can I do now? Like, I can't really see me getting another job now, because this isn't going to work. Like, I'm embarking on an IVF journey that's hopefully going to result in a baby, which it did. So at what point am I going to be out of work now for like 2 years? And then I had a couple of people that I know asking whether I would do their HR. So I just thought, yeah, that's fine, I'll do it. Set up a company, and yeah, it just went from there, really. But I didn't even have any big plans for it.
What was like the straw that broke the camel's back with that? What, like, flipped the switch between being that rule follower to like, right, I can do this for myself? I
think the flexibility. I think it was absolutely critical for me at that time that I had that space to you know, go through IVF without the stress of being told where I needed to be by certain times. And sort of another thing, I suppose, as well, is when, you know, working for yourself, you do get that opportunity to say no to people that you don't want to work with. And I am really strict about the clients that I take on, because I just don't need that negative headspace. I think, you know, it's quite a known thing in business that your good clients compensate for your bad clients, don't they? Because you end up just spending all your time and energy on negative things when, you know, really you just want to be giving your best to the clients that you want on your team. And
100%.
Yeah, I think I am quite strict with that. If I get any sense that a client's either a bad employer or just, you know, won't listen to advice, because that's what I'm there for. And I don't want to take your money if you're not going to listen to me, because what's the point? That's not going to work for either of us.
My old business coach, Peter, he's like very nice guy in his 70s now. I haven't seen him for about a year, and he's going to see him, really. But I remember one of the first things he said to me, he was actually one of the PC clients to start, and then he had his son Ben runs the business now, Russell Taylor, got like 400 staff, massive business, wow. Bought out Better Manor, like legit. Peter once said to me, I think it was like our second coaching session ever, he was like, look, it's a lot easier to start off like an arsehole and then get nice, and to start nice and then become an arsehole later down the line. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't even understand what he's saying. What I realised was, it's a lot easier to set boundaries at the start, mm-hmm. and then become a bit more flexible with them if the client needs it.
Yeah.
Then be flexible and give loads at the start and then take it away from them.
Yeah.
And over time, it really started to ring true, because when you start out, it's like, I just need money. I just need clients who are going to pay me. So what a lot of people tend to do is they tend to just take anyone on that they can, just to get the money in. And be like, I'll deal with it all later. And what they realise is, they're all a pain in the arse. So pardon me. So you're in this catch-22 situation where you got people paying you, and your salary basically depends on these people paying you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're taking up all your time with negative stuff. So I think you're right that it's better to be stricter with clients and with who you take on, and have them cool clients that you love working with and that you know you can genuinely help, that you don't feel pressure to work with because of financial reasons, but you're also still getting paid the value that you want from working with them. So I think that's a cool thing. And with them clients, what I'm really interested in with this is, in this day and age of COVID happening and this whole work from home thing, and I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, me too.
How has the whole landscape changed in terms of employment with that sort of flexible working and stuff? Because I've got certain viewpoints on it, but I don't know whether they're right because I'm not actually in it day to day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's been a massive shift, and I think it's going to sound really controversial, but I do think the pendulum swung too far the other way now, and I think
into the power of the employee. Yeah,
and I think it's absolutely great that people, and especially younger generations coming through, are starting to be a bit more firm about their own needs and their own beliefs and value systems, and they're actually looking for employers who match that now. They're not just, what we were talking about earlier, sold that 9 to 5, where it was just sort of accepted, wasn't it? You just get a job and you just listen to the employer, and they're paying you, so you just have to get on with it. So while I totally, I love that shift has changed, and people are feeling more empowered. I'm raising kids myself. I want them to go into that world as well. I do think it has swung a little bit the other way because, I feel like I can safely say this because the clients that I have are all good employers, because I don't work with any bad employers. And they really will do anything for their employees, and the pressure on them to, that's the first thing that comes out is the salaries. Everything else, including the directors' salaries. The directors don't have contracts. If a job doesn't come in or whatever, the employees get paid. The directors don't. That's just how it works. But I do feel like there's been too much of a shift, and I feel like employees now are becoming a little bit too demanding, if I'm honest. And I think it's I think we're starting to see a bit of entitlement where the employers are doing what they can, and it's just never good enough. And I think we do sort of all need to remember that without, proper working practices and an efficiently run business that relies on obviously the people that it employs, there's no money, and then there's no jobs. And I think with the working from home thing, that's obviously a hugely contentious issue. And I've got a bit of a problem with that because I feel like the narrative that I see a lot on LinkedIn and other platforms is that if you're an employer and you want your employees to come to the office, then you don't trust them, and you're just being powerful. I seen somebody, I seen a post, and it said something like an office is just an extension of a business owner's ego, and I literally laughed out loud. I just thought, oh come on, it's getting ridiculous now. It's well,
it is ridiculous, that genuinely ridiculous, because if you think about it, if you've got a decent sized business or corporation who are hiring this building for probably no less than $3,000 a month for this office block, they need people in that building. They're not going to keep spending $3, $4, $5,000 a month on a building that they're not using or no one's going to. So for them to say we want you to be in there because they're paying for it, it's it's just utterly ridiculous.
I know, and I think it's it's human connection as well. These business owners have employed you because they like you as well. They want to see you, and they want people in the office. They want the teamwork, the collaboration. And obviously, while flexible working, none of the clients that I have don't offer some form of flexibility. They all offer it in different ways. But I think, what I see online a lot about offices and stuff are just, I think it's ridiculous. I think we should look at it the other way, that your employer actually really values you and wants to see you. And, working remotely all the time just doesn't work all the time. And I think we sort of just need to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak on this because this is public knowledge, so I'm not speaking out of turn here. My missus is on maternity leave right now. So in 3 months' time, she goes back.
Yeah.
She works for Santander. She's on good salary. She's a relationship manager for businesses doing 1 to 5 million. So good, decent salary job.
Yeah.
Now, when we had her first, she works full-time, Monday to Friday. But when she went back, the agreement was you can work full-time, but over 3.5 days.
Yeah.
So she does a few 12-hour days or 10-hour days. And then, so she makes up the hours in the 3.5 days, which worked because she gets a day and a half off to have with the kids and da-da-da.
Yeah.
Flexible. And she could do that from home. And for that period of COVID, it was great because everyone was at home.
Yeah.
Tapped into Zoom calls every day. Da-da-da-da-da. Happy days. 4 years on, Santander have kind of gone, right, we need people back in the building now because we're paying all this money.
Yeah.
There's huge business in the business district of Liverpool that we need people in. And they basically said, you need to be in 10 days a month.
Yeah.
Now, if you're working 5 days a week, that's 20 days a month, let's say.
Yeah.
Half of that, you've got to be in the office. That, to me, is very fair.
Yeah.
Right? Now, for Becky, because she's only doing 3.5 days, that 10 days equates to, like, it's like 80%. So she's kind of like, well, maybe I could do 2 days at home and a day and a half. So there's probably a bit of negotiation there to, like, be a bit more flexible. But these employers aren't employers, not employees. Employers are being fair. They're not being unreasonable. To say that you need to go to work is not being unreasonable.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree. And I think, you know, as a working mum myself, I understand the difficulty of childcare. You know, with 2 babies under 2, I couldn't have held down a 9-to-5 job because they're going to nursery, they're getting sick, I'm having to rely on other
and with,
childcare.
you know, with babies, they're unpredictable.
Exactly.
Anything could happen.
And it is difficult, but I do also think that that's a society problem, unfortunately. And I'm not talking about big corporations like Santander and the NHS and, you know, people who've got the...
But for small business owners.
But for small business owners, you know, it is a society problem and it absolutely should change. You know, women are penalised for having babies, but it's not employers that are doing that. They, you know, it's the government that sets the statutory rate, it's the government that sets the statutory leave, and then it's the government really who are pushing up the nursery fees that are costing us all a fortune. So I think it's a problem as a society, and unfortunately, small employers can't solve that. They still need to run the business, and while they, you know, every one of my clients support women in work, they do the best, but beyond that, there's not.
I can't remember it ever being an issue before COVID though. Maybe it was, I don't know. But
it's funny that, you know, because we always talk about this, and like I say now, like, about putting the kids in nursery, and I'm like, oh, you know, I feel like they go to nursery too much. And my mum is like the most caring mum ever, and all she wanted was to be a mum, but she had to go to work. But she hasn't got like a career, she just has a job, and she was fine with that. Yeah. And when I say now, oh, you know, I feel bad that the kids are in nursery like 4 days a week or whatever, my mum goes, Lauren, you just have to get on with it because I've done it. You went to nursery, you've turned out fine. It is what it is. You have to send them to nursery.
When you look as well, in your heart of hearts, it's not like we don't do anything with the kids. It's not like,
I know.
You know, it's not like we're just shipping them off.
Are you doing it for them? Yeah. Like everything, I always think, like, when people ask you, like, what is your why? The most important thing for me to earn is to give my kids that freedom when they're older, because I never want my children to be in a position where they have to work for somebody that they hate or somebody who's horrible to them because they have to. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And that's, it's freedom, isn't it?
I've had this like real confliction in my mind the last few years about that exact source. Like, it's like, I want to give them, I'm exactly the same as you. I want to give my kids the best life. I want to give them complete freedom of choice. They can go and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
You know, obviously don't want them to turn out like bums or anything. Yeah. But, like, I want them to grow up to be decent humans, you know, ambitious people, accomplish some good stuff in their life, be genuinely good people.
Yeah.
And obviously money facilitates that, right? Success facilitates that.
Of course.
But when I think about, am I doing it for them? I was doing it before them, so I don't know, like, whether, I don't know, like, it's a real confliction in my mind, because, like, what drives me to come into work now and do really well, like, I would love to get to a position in the business where I can retire Becky, I can retire my mum, my mum and dad can just see the rest of the life out. They're in their mid-60s now, but see the rest of the life out, financially free.
Yeah.
I'd love that. So it does drive me a lot, and I totally agree. But I was doing it before that, so I don't know, it's just a really confliction in my mind.
Yeah, no, I do take what you mean on that, but I think you'll probably subconsciously find that the decisions you make and the pressure you put yourself under is backed by them now, because I think like I haven't had maternity leave, so I've had 2 kids and I've gone back to work straight away. So this has got to work. I say this to my husband all the time, like if I'm having like a bad day or you know, we all have them days, don't we, where we just feel like...
You don't strike me as the type of person that would ever let that happen.
Well, no, I won't, but I can't. That's the difference. It's now that
maybe if you didn't have kids, then you'd just be like, maybe I will go and do something else. Or...
But now I think like this can't fail, because I can't look back and say, oh yeah, I sacrificed 2 maternity leaves and it didn't work out anyway. It's got to work.
That's because you're a good person. I like that. It's so interesting. Now, just to play devil's advocate on this, for employees as well.
Yeah.
So if an employee is maybe feeling a bit disgruntled with like maybe going back to work, or they feel like the boss is being mean to them or doing something that they're, you know, that's unfair or whatever. I was watching this thing by Rory Sutherland. He's one of like my marketing heroes, by the way. Like he's just a really cool like marketing guy I listen to. And he was saying that like all the like products, I'm a productivity geek.
Yeah.
So I'm massive on like how can I get more out of hours and days and stuff.
Yeah.
And what he was saying was all the stuff that's like a productivity killer in an office, for example, like emails and having 1 screen instead of 2. So having 2 screens is like, it's like undisputably more productive than having 1 screen.
Yeah.
So all this stuff in an office that employers don't do for the employees, they're doing. And they're like, yeah, that's fine, because the employees and the employees we'd get more out of this if we had less emails or less meetings or more screens or, you know, blue light glasses, whatever it is. Like, all these like productivity hacks. But when it comes to like flexible working, the employers are like, no. The employees actually quite like him working at home, so we need them back.
Yeah.
So when it's something that the employees hate, this is what he says, not my words.
Yeah.
When it's something that the employees hate, the employees are okay with it. But as soon as the employees quite like it and enjoying it, like, no, you're not allowed that.
Do you know what? No, I just feel like that needs to be dispelled, because how many employers do you know, or business owners, because I don't know any, that wake up in the morning and think, right, got this team here who I'm paying however much on the payroll every month that the work has got to come in because these people need to be paid because they're in a contract. What can I do to make them miserable? How many people do you know that? Like, that's what stresses me out when I hear like people saying like it's just people throwing the power about, or it's just people doing this.
Oh God.
These business owners are far too busy to be thinking, how can I upset you today?
Oh, yeah.
They've got families, they've got businesses, they've got everything else. Like, maybe I think the problem is the lack of transparency. I think a lot of business owners, not a lot, some business owners hold information back that they think is confidential about the business or about reasons, or it's just, they just forget the importance of communicating. I think I can see it because I know everything that goes on behind these businesses, financially, people plans, everything. So I understand decision making because I understand the reason behind it. And I think sometimes it might just be a communication issue where an employer has gone, right, from next month, we're going to get everybody back into the office 2 days a week or whatever, instead of saying, right, listen, we've really reviewed this, which is what often has happened. They've had 20 meetings about it and they've really considered the next step that they're going to make. They don't communicate the why. So it's just the when and the what, and not the why. They don't say, listen, these are the things that we've decided, and this is because we really truly believe that it's going to positively impact X. They just say, everyone, we're back here next week, or we're doing this. And I think when people don't understand and they can't rationalise things, it gets them frustrated because it feels like you're being told what to do, and nobody really likes being told what to do. So that's what I mean. I don't think it's people I think it's people's perception that, oh, the business is just deciding to be mean to me or whatever, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually just a complete lack of transparency with decision making.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Like, I think of myself now, like, we're in a position with the business where we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Looking at like building a team, want to get the right people in.
Yeah.
Don't want to make any hasty financial decisions that could put us in trouble or anything. I'm not thinking to myself, I'm going to be a fucking boss and I'm going to, you know, graft these people to the bone. And, you know, if I employed a girl who had kids, for example, and she had a sick kid, I'm not going to be an arsehole. I'm not a dickhead. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't go and see your kid. Like, it could be, you know what I mean? And like, that just wouldn't process me brain. But on the flip side, if I've got a client paying us $2-3 a month and he's putting pressure on us to deliver, and we've got to deliver, shit rolls downhill a little bit. Like, things have got to get done. So I think it's like a happy medium between, like, I think it's not a happy medium. It's a skill set that I've got to hone, where I've got to be able to deliver for the client and the customer, but also lead a team. Now, in my head, I know for a fact I would never throw my employee under the bus to the customer ever. But at the same time, there's got to be like a process in place in the business that gets the best out of that person. And if they don't meet that standard, then maybe they can just go somewhere else. That's fine. But I'm not going to be an arsehole about it. I'm not going out there thinking, you know, I'm just going to dictate to the point where they're scared to, if they make any mistake, like it's going to, you know, fuck the life up sort of thing. Like, you are right. I don't think many people get out of bed and think that.
Absolutely not. I think, you know, most employers, well, for most businesses, the most difficult thing is the hiring and getting that right and getting good teams together. So if they've hired you, it will have been a huge decision, and they want it to work as much as you do, because employers don't want high turnover, because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. But like you say, ultimately there's a business to run, and without that running properly, there's no job.
I would love to get to a point where I'd take someone on, I'd, you know, teach them and train them, and they really love like working under my wing sort of thing. And then after a few years, they'll fly the nest and go do something else. And like maybe just start doing something by themselves. I would love that. I think that's I mean, you see it in like, obviously we work in social media and content. So in the content marketing space, you're seeing it a lot at the moment where like, do you know, like news presenters on news, like traditional news, that personal brand of the person is outgrowing the actual station that they're on. So you look at the likes of, who's a good example, like Piers Morgan and people like this. That personal brand is outgrowing the station that they're on. So these people are going, well, I can stay and work for these people, which is fine. Or I can go and do this. I know how to like produce my own stuff. I know how the business works. I know how to make the money. I know how to handle people. I can go and do this by myself now. So you're kind of like out of the frying pan into the fire a little bit. And what I found was, like, I can do videos, I can do content, I can manage social media accounts, but that doesn't build me a team. That doesn't build me all the back-end systems in my CRM. That's a whole new skill set, right? So when I'm spending 6 hours a day like creating videos, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I've got to be working on the onboarding for someone, or the systems and, you know, lead magnets and all this kind of stuff. So it becomes this like really tricky situation where you're like, I've got to do the service delivery, but I've also got to work on the back end.
Chicken and the egg.
It's like, so you actually need to outsource. Now, I need to make sure that decision is right. And there's probably someone like you needs to speak to on this, where you go, what's the best way to do this? Because I'm in a good financial position with the business now. But at the same time, I don't want to like invest a load of money into someone who we're just going to piss off after 3 months or do some shit. You know, it's just little things. To me, it's like we do a lot of like traditional hours of hours working. So say we do an event on a Friday night or Sunday morning. I don't want someone being like, no, I don't work at them hours. They need to just be like, yeah, but like, let's just go and do it. Fuck it, let's do it. And just someone who's just there in it. And all like the skill side of it, I can kind of like train them. But like the attitude and sort of just, it's almost the attitude is almost like, what am I getting? It's not what can I get from the company? What can I get? It's like, what can I do to contribute to the company and make myself as valuable as possible to the company so that they take care of me more?
And I think the emergence of like side hustles, so to speak, are potentially damaging that, because, you know, to your point, people are starting to think like, you know, okay, what can I get for me? And, you know, I'll go and do my 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job, and then I'm going to do everything for myself on the side, which, do you know what, is fine. Like, I would never stand in the way of people earning more money and bettering themselves. But I think that also needs to be very carefully balanced with the fact that, you know, you're getting paid a salary, which is your security. So if you didn't have that salary job and you just done your side hustle, you wouldn't be paying your bills. So it's kind of like, yeah, maybe it's something you can build over time, but there needs to be kind of a bit of, I don't know, a bit of a respect to the fact that you're taking a job with an employer who's relying on you, who thinks you're part of the team, and, you know, they're investing in you. Every time they pay you, they're investing in you. They want you on their team. And I think that's probably the problem when we've got people who are doing kinds of things on the side, which, like I say, I would never stand in the way of that. But that's quite a conflict, isn't it? And it comes to a point where the employer is actually just a bit of a safety net until you can. And I read a podcast.
You know what? I agree with that. It's like so much, and it resonates so true with me, because if I think to myself, like I just said then, if someone comes into the business now, content creator, a VA, whatever the role is, social media manager, whatever, and he do 4 years with me, and he genuinely gets to the point where they're like, do you know what, I'm just a little bit outgrown this now.
Yeah.
I would never stand in the way.
Yeah.
You know, fair play, go and do your thing, you know, start your own stuff. I've done it. But if someone's just using me as like a stepping stone after and 6 months they're going to do this side hustle thing, I don't need that. Like,
that's what I mean. And I think, like, it's, you know, there's always that kind of, I suppose, lack of understanding that, you know, the small business owners took that risk already. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're paying you probably sometimes before they paid themselves. And yeah, I think, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. I think, yeah, if you're working for big corporations, then go for it. Yeah. But if you're working for a small employer and you're doing that, then I just think, yeah, obviously if you're doing it and it doesn't impact your employer and you're transparent about it, then that's absolutely fine. But I think I personally would find it quite hard to be equally committed to my day job and something else on the side. Yeah, you're right. And I would say as well that if someone's doing a side hustle in something, it's usually what do you enjoy. Yeah.
So the side hustle is, so not all the time, but traditionally, the work is where they go to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And the side hustle is something they enjoy doing, but they try and monetize.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they can.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will get to the point where they're like, oh shit, I've made $2,000 a month. That's the same as what I'm making in my job.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Like,
but I think on that note, well, if it's that consistent and it's working, why are you still keeping you 9 to 5? And it's not. Exactly. That's the thing, is it? Like,
I when I done it, I burned the boat totally. So I didn't hang on.
Yeah.
I've been made redundant 3 times, cut long story short. So in COVID, when I got my last redundancy, I was like, fuck that, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, it has to work.
Yeah.
I just literally just was like, first baby on the way, spending a load of money on cameras and setting up and stuff. Hard conversation to have with your partner, innit?
Of course.
And I was like, no, it is going to work. Like, whatever happens, I will make it work. Now, over the next 4 years, there was some times when I was like, fuck, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But 4 or 5 years later, fucking doing it right now. But that's the level of consistency you need to go through that fucking shit. It's not going to be a case where, oh yeah, I've made $2,000 a month this month from my side hustle. Like, try that for 5 years straight.
Yeah.
And more.
Yeah. And the risk that comes with it and everything else. And I think it's about being prepared, isn't it? I think if you are going to go on your own, which obviously I have, so I obviously advocate for that entrepreneurial spirit, but it wasn't without sacrifice, and it wasn't without months of thinking, oh God.
I love that journey, by the way, because it's like, it rings true with me, because it's kind of the same as what I've done. Yeah. And we probably got similar sized business now, so.
Yeah.
So, just diving a little bit deeper into it, like I like to geek out on this stuff. If someone is out there listening to this and they kind of like on the verge of building a team, or they've got a team and they might have some issues within the team, and they resonate with what we're saying, what sort of advice would you give them straight off the bat, or what are some general things that you could just implement straight away to make the sort of maybe like work life a little bit easier?
I think that the probably key thing is transparency. I think, you know, as an employer, you need to just be absolutely transparent about your expectations and set them boundaries, and then and be fair. Obviously, just think about things and think, am I being fair, and what's the reason for me? You know, if you are asking people to come into the office, what's the reason? There must be a reason. Like I say, you know, very rare that people just get up and think, oh, I'm just going to make people commute for the sake of it, and just communicate that a little bit better. And I think setting them boundaries, because I think I always find that a lot of employers go to pieces when things change with, you know, they have bad times with employees and stuff. And I have myself, and I've started to think, like, if I've set them boundaries and I've been very clear and I'm being very fair, if that employee decides to do something that, you know, doesn't align with that, and the dynamic changes, then that's on them. They've changed that dynamic, not you. So you've been straight up from the start and you're being fair. If they decide to change that dynamic and you have to change to respond to that, then that's not something you need to feel guilty about. It's something you need to try and detach yourself from, because I think that's the biggest thing. You know, the clients that I have are all really good employers and really good people. They don't want like disruption in the team. They hate delivering difficult conversations and them decisions. It doesn't sit well with them. You know, they could be turning over 30 million a year, but they're still panicking in case they've said something. They feel like they've hurt somebody in a meeting. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they're just good people. Yeah. And I think that's underestimated a lot. I think, like I say, it goes back to the perception of the employer being the big bad wolf, and in most cases it's really not the case.
I agree with that. Completely agree with that. I always say, like, flexibility within frameworks. Peter used to say this to me. So, like, you've got a framework of how you work, and you don't bend to that. Like, the framework is the framework. That's how the company runs. Yeah. That's the model. That's what we do. Yeah. This is how we deliver to clients. This is what we do. This is your day-to-day processes. But within that, you can have flexibility. Cool. So if I become an employer, which I'm intending to do over the next few months, you become, you have a flexibility within that. Everything gets done. It doesn't mean everyone, like, your lifestyle is completely different to mine. Yeah. We have 2 kids. So someone looking at our, like, mine and your lifestyle would say, oh, they're very similar. So we're business owners. Yeah. We've got kids, 2 kids. Yeah. We've got partners who are quite hands-on. Yeah. Happy days. We're really busy. We've got similar amounts of clients, similar sized businesses. Yeah. So everything on the outside, we do school run, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So all that stuff looks quite similar. Yeah. But if you look at our life in isolation, it's completely different. The stuff we do day to day is going to be completely different. So if you're my employee or I'm your employee, it's got to be an element of, like, your lifestyle's just different. Yeah. So if you're like, me kid's sick, there's got to be an element of, okay, fair, go look after your kid. Of course. You do this. So from both sides, there's got to be that element of flexibility. But at the same time, the business runs the way it runs. Yeah, and I think that's an amazing way to put it, like, flexibility within frameworks. And I think it just needs to be both ways, because I think, you know, if you're constantly showing up for your employer, then when you need that little bit of grace, they're going to show it back if they are good employers, and if they're not, then you probably shouldn't be working for them. But I always think I apply kind of the same mentality to my kids. So my little boy Harry's 2.5, and I always think I just pick my battles with him. That's another similarity. We both kids got boys called Harry. I know. He's absolutely wild, and I could constantly, like, I like a tidy house, but that's not happening, is it, with 2 kids? And I could constantly be saying to him, no, you know, when he's opening the kitchen drawers and pulling all the pans out, and I'm thinking, oh God, just play with your toys. But I pick my battles. That's my mentality. So when I do say no, it matters. So I say yes to most things, but when I do say no, he knows it means no. Whereas if you're constantly just saying no to an employee's request and you don't really understand why, then, you know, it doesn't look good, does it? Whereas I think if you're being flexible as an employer and you're given that flexibility within that framework that you've just pointed out, when the time comes that you need to say no,
hopefully the employee understands.
Yeah. And you do get it as well. Like, you see people coming home and stuff all the time, and they're like, do you know what? My boss has been so good with me about this stuff that's been going on. One of my mates had cancer last year. He's thankfully recovered now. But within that, he's like, my boss has been amazing with me.
Yeah.
Just like giving me time off to go to the chemo. He's allowed me to work when I wanted to work, but when I needed a day off and I wasn't up to it, happy days.
But imagine being an employer, just as a human being, and having a negative impact on that time in somebody's life. That's what, like we were talking about maternity before. Like, imagine them testing times in your life, whether it be something as difficult as, you know, or grief, or all those things that we at some point, we or someone we know will encounter. Imagine, that's what I always think. Imagine being that negative, having that. Imagine someone looking back in the worst time of their life and thinking, God, someone treated me awful during that time. And I think that really resonates with me, because I've had some experiences of that. And I just think, you know what, for the sake of a day, you could have just shown me a little bit of grace, and you could have, It's just about being more human, isn't it? I think on both sides.
I always say you can't be empathetic. You can't have gratitude and you can't be grateful and be angry at the same time.
Yeah.
And you can't be empathetic and stressed at the same time.
Yeah.
So when you're empathetic, you're like, fuck, like, I need this work done. I'm stressed about it. And then showing empathy towards someone, they can't coincide together.
Yeah, because when you're stressed, you just hate everything, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know it myself. Like, if I'm, you know,
it's so easy to do it. Like, I'm not excluding myself from this. Like, in the business, sometimes I'm like, fuck, like, I need this work to get done. Like, it needs to be done now. And it's a hard conversation to have when you literally want to like read your kid a story, and the time all you're thinking about is fucking work.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's really tough. So I don't exclude myself, and I'm not exempt from it. Like, sometimes, like, I make an irrational decision. You speak to someone like shit or something. And,
we all do, don't we?
Yeah, like sometimes it happens, but there's got to be that, like, like that flexibility between both sides, I think.
Yeah.
So I love that message. So, Lauren, next few years, you've got to this point over a few years where you've got a really good sized business now. What are your goals over the next couple of years?
I think just to grow so I can improve the service that I provide to my existing clients, because I think I absolutely love doing the work. I love doing the advising, like that's my passion. But I do love the business side of things, and I'm starting to realise that you can't be in two places at once, can you? And I think sometimes I am my own blocker, if that makes sense. I think everyone gets to that point, don't they?
Well, for me, I always find I'm finding it hard to battle with now. It's like, I love this stuff so much, and I care about it so much, and I want to do such a good job for my clients that someone be in control of that. I'm not a control freak by any means.
Yeah, me neither.
But I want to giving up that level of control to someone who might not have the same vision of something that you might have. Not that their vision is wrong, but I think I've been hesitant to take someone on is for that reason, right? Yeah,
it's just because you care, isn't it? And I think that's...
It's like the empathetic business owner conundrum, isn't it? It's like, because I want to do such a good job, and I'm really very anal about doing a good job, and like I'm very coachable. Like Mark and Andrew are our business coaches. Like with Mark, when he's coaching me, even if it's something that I don't necessarily want to hear, I'm always open to it, because how are you going to improve otherwise?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like get on the back. I don't get like defensive about it. I'm just like, do you know what? This is what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Like, this is what
you're paying them for.
This is what I'm paying. Like, everyone likes the idea of accountability until they have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Or everyone likes the idea of discipline until they have to be disciplined.
Yeah, literally. But I just think, I'd like to grow, and I think I would like to be more of an advocate for employers. I am anyway. Like, I definitely advocate for both parts, but I think, you know, over the last couple of years, there has been too much of a shift, and I would like to start speaking, I suppose, a bit more openly on behalf of them business owners who can't speak out themselves because they may get cancelled or in a lot of trouble.
I love that so much. I really, really like the message. So for them employers, I ask this question all the time. I asked it at the start, but I'll ask it again. What's your big idea?
Oh, I think the big idea is to restore balance and an equilibrium in the workplace.
I love that. It took me probably about 6 months to get to the big idea. And what I realised was, I love this idea of ideas so much.
Yeah.
That in the top of our mission statement says, we create and share ideas.
Love that.
Because how many ideas just go into the graveyard of... I tell the story all the time. Don't know if I mentioned this to you. So I went into this massive Ben & Jerry's ice cream shack. And like the biggest selection of Ben & Jerry's you'd ever seen in your life. It was huge. It was in Australia about 9 years ago. But on the wall, there was like this huge mural of like the graveyard of all the old Ben & Jerry's flavoured, like were discontinued or like they didn't make anymore. And I love this flavour of Ben & Jerry's called Fairly Nuts. And it was like the best flavour. It was like this almondy vanilla ice cream. It was like fucking amazing. I couldn't find it anywhere. I was like, where the fuck's it gone? It's not selling anymore. So I went in there and it was like this Fairly Nuts was on the wall. And I just thought it was such a great idea to be just transparent about what hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Because when you're transparent about what doesn't work, you know the stuff that you're going to buy is the best stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just such a great concept to me. And that's what put it into my head about these ideas. Like, and I've got this rule now where if an idea goes into my phone or if I have an idea, if action's not been taken on it within 48 hours, it gets deleted.
Ooh, pressure.
It's pressure.
Yeah.
Now, if you do get deleted, it obviously wasn't important enough to take action on at the time.
Yeah.
Because within 48 hours, you've got an hour or two just to do something.
Yeah.
So I know now, all my ideas that I've got in my CRM and stuff are all action takers.
Yeah.
And they're the big ideas.
Yeah.
So when we create YouTube channels for people, it's like, okay, the first question is, what's the big idea behind your YouTube channel? Like, when someone lands on your YouTube channel, what's it going to be?
Yeah.
Or when someone lands on your social media, what's it screaming out to them? And when it comes to it, everyone's like, that's what we found was, like, as cross-pollinated across all our clients for the last 4 years, it's always been the ones with the best big ideas and the ones that are clear about that idea, the ones that do the best.
Well, question back to you then. Do you think in business, is it people who have woke up and gone, right, I would like to own my own business, what can I do? Or is it the people like us who are intrinsically passionate about what we do that end up falling into business? Because this was never my plan.
Yeah. If you'd have asked me when I was 21 that I would be, if you'd have told me at 21 that I'd be owning a social media agency and a content room and a podcast room, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know what social media was till I was about 30.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely like a little bit of both. So the example I always give on this, and it's a great question, is Gordon Ramsay. Everyone knows who he is. He's a great chef, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't run you the restaurants. It doesn't train the staff. It doesn't run the till system. It doesn't do all the back end stuff, all the PR, all the advertising, all the marketing. Doesn't do any of that stuff. All he's good at is cooking food.
Yeah.
Now, is Gordon Ramsay's time best spent in the kitchen cooking food? No, he needs to be the front-facing guy in the business, right? So, for me, as an example, when I started doing it, I was like, no, I'm just going to focus on the delivery, focus on the best stuff.
Yeah.
But you quickly realise, my time's not best spent doing that.
Yeah.
So, for me, I was always, like, I'm very passionate about it now. Like, I love it. And, like, I can see myself doing this forever. But as of right now, if you ask me when I started, I wasn't that ambitious guy. I was just happy just to take what had come, basically.
Yeah.
If you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I was always going to be a PT. Never would have been outside of that. And I think the key to it is an idea. If you get this idea and it's just lights a fire up under you and it gives you that passion and that like level of purpose, and also kids make a massive difference.
Yeah.
It's like I never worked half as hard before kids as what I do now. I'm knackered and it drives me every day. And some days I just want to sleep in.
Yeah.
It gets me out of bed in the morning. So it's like a bit of both. But on the other hand of that, there's some people who are 45 who haven't got any kids and have worked to the bone since they were 21. And it's just intrinsically inside them to do.
Yeah.
But for me, that wasn't me.
Yeah, no, me neither. It's really interesting, isn't it? Thinking like which way around it works.
I like the idea of like psychology. I like the idea of like psychology. We'll talk about this off camera as well. I like the idea of like psychology in the workplace because it works, right? Like, you know, knowing how to treat people. Like a lot of people are like doing personality profiling and stuff now for like employees and like when they're in the interview process. Now, that's a double-edged sword in itself because you don't want to profile someone before they get in the role.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you know, someone who's the wrong fit for the role coming in. You know, I've had this stuff done, so I can kind of talk about that stuff. Anyway, maybe that's for like another piece of content.
Yeah, I love that.
Lauren, it's been amazing. I've enjoyed this conversation loads.
Me too. Thank you so much.
If someone is watching this and wants your help or has resonated or needs some HR assistance or just needs some general advice, where's the best place they can find you?
Probably our website, which is www.smoothhr.co.uk.
Amazing.
Sound like a radio advert.
Amazing. Maybe that's the next thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get into that, doing some like radio adverts. I will put all the links to your LinkedIn, Instagram, website around this video when it comes out. I really, really appreciate your time. I think people are going to get a lot of value from this, and we are done.
Thank you.